When speaking about Final Fantasy VII, it is hard to overstate the impact it had on the video game industry and players alike. Releasing in 1997 on the Sony PlayStation to massive critical acclaim, the game blazed a trail for the JRPG genre into the Western world, crossing cultural boundaries and changing the face of gaming forever. With its for-the-time, revolutionary visuals, sprawling open-world setting, compelling narrative and battle system, the game is revered by many to this day as one of, if not the greatest game of all time. Then Squaresoft, the Japanese developer, took an enormous gamble with the 7th game in its Final Fantasy series. Spanning 3 PlayStation 1 discs, with the budget of over $45 million, it was the most expensive and ambitious game ever produced in its day. That gamble paid off, however, as Final Fantasy VII established the series, the developer, and even the JRPG genre as a viable business as it secured its status as a legendary game. At E3 2015, Square Enix announced their plan to remake Final Fantasy VII to rapturous applause. Fans had already been anticipating and asking for this for several years, even as far back as the PS2 console generation. After many years of silence, false starts and even outright denials, it felt like the fans had finally been heard. 23 years after Final Fantasy VII won our hearts and minds, we sit at the cusp of the release date of the long-anticipated remake, as now Square Enix tries to recreate the success of the original. On March 2nd, 2020, a playable demo was finally released to the public on the PlayStation Network. Will it live up to the Herculean reputation, or leave this Final Fantasy VII fan in need of a phoenix down? The demo opens to a very familiar scene to any veteran of the series, a flower girl in the daunting streets and alleyways of the darkened techno city Midgar. The scene pans away, allowing Midgar to reveal its now enormous, sprawling expanse. The change from the micro detail of the streets to the macro of the huge and bustling electronic city itself already hinting at the orders of magnitude by which we will be expanding on the original setting. As the bombing run on Mako Reactor No. 1 commences, we are reintroduced to our cast of characters, now sporting weather-beaten armour.
Use brings about wear, tear, and rust. And that's a real waste.
Glowing Mako-infused eyes, and weapons now visually fitted with the green glowing orbs of magic materia. Clearly there has been no expense spared or shortcuts taken in bringing your party to the modern world, and this is the first of many areas of success in this demo.
You better be worth the money, Merc. Every last gil.
Jumping off a train, it is here that we as fans finally, after years of anticipation, get to take our first steps into the soldier first class boots of mercenary Cloud Strife all over again. You will be thrust immediately into the high-octane action combat which has eschewed the traditional turn-based JRPG controls of the original for something more akin to a modern Square Enix game. Rather than attacking by selecting a command from a text-based menu, you simply press the square button and time multiple presses for combination attacks. You have a separate button for defending and another for evading. Purists, however, will be happy to note that all these actions will contribute to building an ATB bar, which then unlocks the use of abilities and spells which are selected from the command menu. Triggering the command menu slows the pace of battle almost to a stop, to give you time to think strategically about your next move or even just to breathe. Far from grinding the action to a halt, however, the slow motion that ensues is a marvel to look at, and still having real-time control of the camera lets you really drink in the details of the particle physics and the lighting. Casting a spell or ability, then going right back into the command menu to watch it play out in slow motion is a joy to behold and really highlights the quality of the animation. As you make your way through the power plant, you will be treated to the orchestral recreations of the incomparable Nobuo Uematsu's soundtrack. Transposing this soundtrack from MIDI to orchestra poses a huge risk for Square, as the MIDI carries a certain charm even now, and fans will always want exact updated remakes, which likely just won't work in a modern game. Instead, we get variations on themes and entire reimaginings of score that for the most part are near perfect. There is something to be said, however, about the prominence of melody heard in MIDI compared to the much more nuanced orchestral approach. The setting of a Mako reactor also would have lent itself well to a more electronic direction for the music, as in the original. Having the Shinra Electric Power Company machinery represented by dark droning electronic instruments may have been a more fitting approach than tying those themes to an orchestra. A minor directional gripe in what is otherwise brilliant work. Notable choral chants from a certain villain's theme being spliced into intro music and the updated version of the prelude are highlights here. For many fans, the most difficult task that Square had in front of them was to capture the atmosphere and the feel that we all remember, to have your party feel like the same people that we played as in 1997, and it's actually in this area that I think they've had the most success. Cloud's cold exterior and no-nonsense money-making approach still clashes with Barrett's over-the-top leadership and activism crusade, throwing verbal barbs at each other, often right in the middle of combat. Jesse is still outgoing and flirtatious, even stopping to ask Cloud of his relationship status to another well-known character. Biggs is quietly confident, and Wedge again tries to appeal to Cloud for sympathy to their cause.
What was his name again?
Cloud Strife.
Right.
And he isn't a soldier anymore. Still, he's a professional, unlike the rest of us. I'm glad to have him.
Looking around the environments in this game, it is clear that the developers hold a reverence for the original source material. There are some more minor details here that I feel should go a long way with the fans. For example, when you defeat a human enemy, they burst into a green spiraling lifestream effect, and when reaching the reactor core, how Barrett mentions the strong smell of the Mako. Another example of an Easter egg for fan service in the demo is towards the beginning half. You can see a poster ad on the wall for Bonora White apple juice, a nice nod for veterans of the compilation of Final Fantasy VII game Crisis Core, showing that not all of the compilation is removed from the canonical timeline as was speculated. Further into the demo, which in total is about an hour long, you will gain control of Barrett during battles and encounter some new enemy types, and it is here that the battle system truly starts to shine. Each character has unique abilities to bring to the fore, with Cloud specialising in close range melee assaults, where he can either focus on fast combos or heavier hitting strikes and parries. Barrett can unleash a near constant barrage of attacks with his gun arm, or charge for a more destructive volley of shots. Switching between characters feels fun and intuitive and is a vast improvement over the combat of Final Fantasy XV, which I did enjoy but was too easy, and the original release locked you to only control the main character, so the sense of freedom here is a welcome change. Finally, you will encounter the Guard Scorpion or Scorpion Sentinel.
Heads up!
What in the hell?
Which acts as the boss battle for this demo. Here is where I think any fans who still may be clambering for the turn-based system of old will be silenced or change their mind. The freedom of motion in this battle system becomes an integral part of the gameplay and not just a novelty. Here you will have to dodge bursts of electricity and gunfire and hide behind cover from a blast from a laser, while also timing your abilities to make use of the stagger feature, another addition to the combat system. Enemies, when taking consistent bouts of damage, will display a stagger meter, and when this fills, they fall to the ground and lower their defenses. The addition of the stagger feature forces you to think more carefully and more strategically about how and when to use your abilities, and for me has very huge implications for further boss battles to be seen in the released game. The battle with the Scorpion Sentinel boss carries over several minutes and truly feels like a standoff against a powerful military machine. You will be forced to use curative items and spells as you go through several stages of battle, destroying the surrounding environment as you go. The true dynamics of the boss battle are shown when the Scorpion Sentinel jumps to a higher plane and Barrett is forced to fire bursts of shots, or Cloud is forced to use spells as melee attacks are no longer an option. I think we can conclude a number of things from this release, not least of which is that it is deserving of all of the praise that it got from gaming outlets before its public release, given the attention to detail and impressive strategic nature of the combat, blending with a more action-oriented modern age of gaming. The faithful way the characters have been adapted and the sheer scale of this demo, for me, indicates that we should be very hopeful for the future of the Final Fantasy VII Remake. Well, that was my thoughts on the Final Fantasy VII Remake demo, and I'm more than excited for my First Class Edition pre-order to arrive. Did you pre-order the game? If so, which version? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, or even if you didn't, say hi down below anyway, and I'll be sure to get back to you. Or if you're too shy for that sort of thing, you can always click the like button, subscribe for more videos like this one, or even just share it with a friend. I'm MrConeman, and remember, safety first.